Imagine a moment when everything stops. Not the world, not the chaos outside, but you. Imagine that tomorrow, without warning, without preparation, life hands you a diagnosis that changes everything. An unexpected illness, a deadline, a brutal certainty that time is not infinite, as you pretended to believe. In that moment of forced silence, when all external voices, social media, pressures, expectations, fall away, only one question echoes in the void. Would what I am living today be worth it if it ended tomorrow? That job that consumes your hours, steals your days, turns Mondays into countdowns. Is it worth it? That boss who diminishes you, that company that treats you as a number, those endless meetings about things that don't matter. Do they matter? It and the people around you? Those friendships that exist only out of habit, obligation, or fear of loneliness. That relationship that drains you more than it fulfills you. That love you hesitate to pursue because you're afraid to take a risk? If tomorrow were your last day of clarity, what would you leave behind without looking back? The truth is this: you already know the answer. You always knew. But you chose to ignore it. You chose to postpone. You chose to believe the comforting lie that there is time, that you'll change tomorrow, that one day the conditions will be perfect. But they won't, because the world will never be ready for your courage. People will never give you permission to be free. Fear will never vanish before you take the first step. You are finite. I am finite. We all are. This isn't new information. But have you really placed the weight of this truth at the center of your life? Or do you keep living as if you have decades guaranteed ahead? Death doesn't give warning. It doesn't send invitations. It doesn't wait for you to be ready. And when it comes, whether through illness, accident, or the natural end, it doesn't ask if you truly lived. It simply closes the chapter. So I ask you, are you writing a story worthy of being remembered? Or are you merely filling blank pages with what others expect of you? Because the courage to be yourself is not optional. It is urgent. You were not born to be a copy. You did not come into this world to follow the script that others wrote for you. You were born to be yourself. But being yourself requires courage. Courage to look in the mirror and see not just your appearance, but your essence. Courage to accept that everything you live today, absolutely everything, is a result of what you allowed, dreamed, believed, or feared. Courage to understand that every victory and every failure, every light and every shadow were projected from within, a precise reflection of your inner state. This is the first revelation. Consciously accept what you have created. And perhaps this is the hardest truth, because the human mind, trained by habit to blame, always seeks external culprits, the government, the family, the economy, chance. But reality is relentless. The outer world is a faithful mirror of the inner world. There is no luck. There is no misfortune. There is only you and what you sustain in your mind, consciously or unconsciously. Napoleon Hill once said, "Thoughts are things. What you think, you create. What you believe, you manifest. And what you fear, you also attract, because fear is nothing more than inverted faith, the conviction that something unwanted will happen. The invisible school of life is not made of diplomas, but of reflections. Each circumstance, each person who crosses your path, each obstacle, each victory, is a coded message saying, 'See, this is your inner world, translated into external form.' That is why the first step is acceptance. Not with resignation, but with awareness. Accept that your life is your creation. Accept that the stage on which you act was built by the lines of your own thought. And then, in that moment of conscious acceptance, the power of change arises. Because if you created, even unconsciously, a limited reality, you can also create, now consciously, an unlimited reality. But for that, you must activate the observer within you. You must cultivate the art of self-observation. Self-observation is self-correction. It's like climbing the highest mountain and looking at your life from above. When you observe your own thoughts without identifying with them, when you contemplate your own emotions without drowning in them, something extraordinary happens. What is not real begins to dissolve. Anger loses its power. Guilt loses its weight. Fear loses its shape. And what is true, what has always been within you, emerges clearly. The real self, the conscious dreamer, the creator of your own existence. Activate the observer within you. Observe yourself when you react with anger. Observe yourself when you sink into doubt. Observe yourself when you compare yourself to others. This act of observing is, in itself, a silent revolution, because what is false cannot survive in the light of awareness. Thomas Edison didn't discover the light bulb by accident. Before he lit the first electric flame, he lit a vision within himself. He observed, corrected every mistake, and persisted. Not because he believed the bulb already existed outside him, but because the bulb was already burning inside him. Walt Disney didn't build sand castles. He built castles of imagination. He could see, even when no one else could, the enchanted world that was born first in his mind. They were observers, conscious dreamers, creators of their own reality. And here is the second revelation. You cannot change the facts, but you can change your interpretation of the facts. Life does not bend to your complaints, but it transforms in response to your attitude. Two men can stand before the same wall. One sees an obstacle, the other sees a blank canvas to paint his future. Two men can face the same defeat. One gives in to despair, the other uses the pain as fuel to grow. It is not the facts that define destiny, but the lens through which you interpret them. Abraham Lincoln lost elections, lost businesses, lost loved ones, yet he did not lose sight of who he was. He did not interpret his falls as the end, but as hidden steps toward a higher purpose. And so, a man who accumulated failures became president of a nation. If you change your attitude toward what happens, over time, the nature of events itself begins to change. Because the external reality responds to the inner vibration, life does not resist the one who refuses to be a victim. But to be reborn into a conscious dream, you must die to the old vision. To die here means to completely reverse your gaze. It means abandoning the old habit of believing that external reality is more real than your dream. It means shedding inherited beliefs, others' opinions, habits that keep your life tethered to the ground. Henry Ford was ridiculed when he said he would put the world on 4 wheels. Maybe he was crazy, because to change the world, you must, to some degree, go crazy in the face of what already exists and dream the impossible. Ford died to the common vision, died to conventional thinking, and because he dared, he lived to see his dream transform not only his life, but the course of human history. Dependency is the opposite of dreaming. To depend is to stop believing in yourself. To depend is to delegate the power of creation to the government, to the boss, to the partner, to the economy. To depend is to give up your own responsibility and wait for someone to write your story. But no one will write your story for you. No one will dream your dreams for you. Conscious dreaming requires freedom. It demands that you free yourself from fears, false certainties, illusions of safety. It demands that you understand that the only guarantee is your own capacity to create. And this capacity is infinite. You are not limited by what you have lived. You are not chained to past failures. You are not trapped by what others have said about you. You are free, always have been. But you've lived believing in chains that never existed. The courage to be yourself begins when you break these invisible chains, when you look at your life and say, I accept, I created, but now I recreate. When you rise not as a victim, but as a creator. When you decide not to be a shadow on life's stage, but the very light that illuminates the path. And this path demands discipline. Because dreaming without discipline is like lighting a candle in the wind. Discipline sustains the fire until it becomes an inextinguishable flame. Discipline transforms desire into action, vision into reality, purpose into destiny. Andrew Carnegie did not build an empire simply because he dreamed. He built because he worked tirelessly, organized his mind, cultivated the discipline to transform every thought into strategy, every strategy into action, every action into results. Discipline is the invisible link between the internal world and the external world. Applied discipline equals freedom. It gives you freedom to choose whatever you want. Without it, dreams remain ideas. With it, dreams become monuments that withstand time. Without it, you are at the mercy of others' choices. And when discipline meets purpose, nothing can stop a man or a woman. Because purpose is the fire that never goes out. Purpose is the compass that points north when all directions seem confusing. Purpose is what separates those who live merely to survive from those who live to leave a mark on eternity. Discipline alone is blind effort, but when united with a clear vision of who you are and what you came to achieve, it becomes absolute creative power. Discipline without vision generates fatigue, but discipline illuminated by purpose generates immortality. Those who changed the world were not just dreamers. They were disciplined dreamers, visionaries who woke each day with an unshakable decision to move forward, to align the internal world so the external would respond. This is where clarity becomes vital. Clarity is not just knowing what you want, but knowing who you are. Without clarity, life becomes a labyrinth where you run in circles, trapped in meaningless tasks, trying to meet expectations that were never yours. With clarity, even the stones on the path become signs, and every curve, every shadow, every apparent delay reveals itself as part of a perfect road. Clarity is what separates those who live by accident from those who live by design. Walt Disney had clarity. Before the world believed, he already saw the castle on the horizon, already heard the music of a park that didn't exist. He didn't ask, "Is it possible?" But, "How can I make inevitable what I already see within me?" That is true clarity, the conviction that your inner vision is more real than any external doubt. And when you achieve this clarity, faith is born. Not blind faith that waits, but conscious faith that acts. This faith asks for no proof. It creates proof. It asks for no guarantees. It becomes the guarantee. It is the faith that moves the machinery of the universe because it is born from unity of thought, emotion, and action. Many spend their lives waiting for ideal conditions, the perfect moment, the right people, enough money, favorable circumstances. But the world will never be perfect for the one who waits. It only bows to the one who acts. There is no favorable weather for the indecisive sailor, but even the storm becomes an ally for the one who knows where they are going. What have you been doing with your days? Have you been living as one drags chains, waiting for something to happen? Or have you been living as one who knows each second is divine raw material, each choice a brick, each action a seed? Life is neither against nor for you. Life merely responds, and it responds exactly in the tone you speak to it. It takes courage to be yourself, because being yourself means rejecting comfortable mediocrity. It means standing against consensus, against the common, against what is accepted. Being yourself demands choosing creative solitude over the conformed crowd. It demands dying to the old selves that sustained the lie that it was impossible. With each new step, you will need to abandon something. Abandon excuses. Abandon inherited beliefs. Abandon dependency on approval. And perhaps even abandon people who cannot bear your light. But it is in that void that you find your true presence. The greats in history did not seek fitting in. They sought expression. Nikola Tesla did not fit into anything of his time. He was strange, misunderstood, often rejected. But by allowing himself to be different, he opened energy portals that still sustain the modern world. Martin Luther King did not seek to please. He sought to declare the dream burning in his soul. The price of authenticity is always high, but the cost of falsity is higher, the loss of oneself. And then arises a paradox. When you have the courage to be yourself, the world that once seemed resistant begins to bend. Because authenticity has a force no artificial technique possesses. You can gain followers with tricks, but only leave legacies with truth. You can impress with masks, but only transform with the nakedness of your essence. And being yourself does not mean living in war. It means living in alignment. Alignment does not demand constant effort. It demands presence. When you observe yourself, when you dissolve negative emotions, when you change your attitude, when you die to the old vision, something within aligns with the whole. And in that alignment, doors open, circumstances organize, people appear, opportunities bloom. The external world dances to the music you decide to play inside. But do not be mistaken. This dance requires resilience. Life will test your conviction. It will bring falls, apparent failures, delays, not to defeat you, but to purify you. Fire burns away impurities from gold, but the gold remains. If you resist, endure, persist, no obstacle can prevail. With each defeat, ask, what is this situation reflecting in me? Which part of me still needs to be observed, healed, transformed? This is the power of conscious resilience, not just to endure, but to learn. Not just to survive, but to evolve. Not just to fall, but to rise greater than before. And then failure ceases to be the enemy. It becomes a teacher. Mistake ceases to be condemnation. It becomes revelation. You finally understand that life never erred with you. You were the one distracted from yourself. And each pain, each crisis, each dark night of the soul was just a reminder that something within was waiting to awaken. The courage to be yourself is not won all at once. It is renewed every morning, every decision, every moment when you choose to live as creator rather than victim. Each time you observe yourself, you grow stronger. Each time you change your attitude, new possibilities open. Each time you abandon dependency, you ignite the flame of freedom. And in this process arises gratitude. Not superficial gratitude that repeats words, but gratitude that sees purpose even in pain. Gratitude that looks back and understands nothing was in vain. Gratitude that looks to now and sees it is enough. Gratitude that looks forward and knows everything is already created. Gratitude is the seal of abundance, because when you are grateful, you declare to the universe, I acknowledge, I receive, I am. And the universe responds by multiplying. The courage to be yourself does not emerge in a single moment of illumination, but in a series of silent decisions made when no one is watching. It is when you choose not to betray yourself, even if truth costs an easy opportunity. It is when you choose not to bow your head, even if the whole environment says you are wrong. It is when you choose to step forward, even if your legs tremble. It is in these invisible moments that you build the fortress of your identity. The world sees only the final result, victory, achievement, success. But the true glory lies in the intimate battles fought within, on those nights when you could have given up but chose to persist. And perhaps here you understand, the greatest enemy was never the world. The greatest enemy has always been your own hesitation, your belief that you were not enough, your dependence on approval, your interpretation that life was unfair. All of this was merely reflections. The wall that seemed outside was within, and the key that seemed lost has always been in your hands. When you understand this, something changes forever. You no longer wait for someone to save you. You no longer wait for the government to improve, the economy to adjust, luck to knock. You become the government of your own life, the economy of your own destiny, the luck that creates reality. You stop being a beggar and become a king. This is exactly where many give up, because assuming full responsibility for yourself is also relinquishing all excuses. It is stopping blaming childhood, parents, traumas, bosses, politicians, enemies. If this video helped you in any way, help me too. Let's share abundance and prosperity. Subscribe, share, and comment. Let's create a network of prosperity and abundance on this earth. What you expect from the world comes from within.